Hello, hello! Welcome to Oye Dimelo Club. I'm hosting today. I am Michaela, and today I'm with my partner JP, whose bit I just ruined, Eldon Dino, Ray Ray, and Jason Eccles today.
I had a bit.
Yes, you did.
I had a bit.
Anyways, today we are reviewing the film Triplets of Belleville, which is actually my pick. Today, and it is a French animated feature that won foreign film. It is a very interesting movie, and I can't wait to hear y'all's first impressions.
All right. Yeah, I'll go. It was wacky tobacco. It's a movie that's kind of been on my list since it came out, but for whatever reason, maybe you know, I was already in Alabama at that time, and a lot of these foreign flicks never made it to Alabama because, Alabama. So maybe that's why I never got to see it when it first came out, or at least that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. But yeah, I had no idea what to expect. I thought it was going to be literally the triplets doing wacky stuff and had no idea the whole cycling journey and all that. So it was a trip and a good trip, but it got trippy.
We're
The
already
first
into
impression
spoiler
is
territory, ladies and gentlemen.
my first impression was it was trippy.
Which I think is ironic because I didn't see anyone trip at all on those bikes.
Well,
Hey-oh.
I mean, if you really want to get into spoiler character, like
People die. I interrupted. It wasn't even a sidebar. It was Dino's first impression. So
yeah. So here,
my bad. So I
it.
guess it's my turn. First impressions. This is not the first time that I've seen this movie. I am somewhat familiar with the director Sylvain Chomet. I think that's how you pronounce it. Probably not. I probably said that guy's name wrong, but he's like a very cool, like very avant-garde, very absurdist French animator. And and to be quite honest, like when I first saw it, first thing that's exact, I had Dino's same thought, and I told you it's not going to be about what you think it is, like at all. The movie does sidetrack a bit from like what you expect, but it all comes together in the end. Like yes, like the namesake of the movie is the triplets, but we don't get to see them until maybe midway through the second act and the first scene of the film, which I thought was gracefully done. A little bit of racism, but that's okay. Well, no. Actually, no, because to be racist means to hate, and there, I don't think there was any hate behind it. But it did show that men are animals. So but anyways, like it's a I don't know how to phrase it better than what Dina said. To simplify it, this film is awfully trippy. So like, if this is one of those movies that if you are on, let's say abusing some substance or whatever, you're definitely gonna have some fun. So us sober types, I'm so sorry, we're not gonna enjoy it as much as them. You guys can enjoy the movie Fantasia a lot more than I can, and that's somewhat
So
disappointing.
your $40 a can pop doesn't make it trippier for you?
No, not at all. Not at all. I quit the seltzer, but that's okay. This is a very fun movie. Very like I guess we'll talk about it. There's no real use of any language. French and English is used in the movie, but very sparingly, and most of the time it's pure gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically a silent movie, in my opinion.
Right.
But overall, it is wacky. It is trippy. I'm just rephrasing Dino, but A plus. I think it's an A plus.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
All right, Ray, what did you think?
I thought it was crazy bananas. You know, I can't. I actually knew of the movie because of the music, because the music was used in a performance on So You Think You Can Dance, like in an earlier season, like maybe seasons 4 through 6, somewhere around there, and it's probably on like season 12 or something. I don't even know. And oh man, I just lost his name, and I know how to get to his name by explaining hints, but it involves a lot of people who are not uncanceled anymore. It's just a mess. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Um, Wade Robson. Wade Robson. Wade Robson's the choreographer, and Wade Robson's known for doing kind of like really like avant-garde, spooky ooky, like funk meets hip hop, jazz choreo. And so he busted out this song that's featured in the movie when the Triplets of Belleville come back with Grandma, and he turned that into like this its own thing, and it was really gorgeous and beautiful and weird, and I was obsessed with the music since then, and so that's how I was introduced to the film. But I'd never seen it until Just Meow, and I'm still kind of like, what did I just watch? There's a part of me that's intrigued because it's so not what I expected. There are some racist moments in there. Um, I don't know if I walked out of it enjoying the full experience. Like sometimes we'll have these initial thoughts and we'll go, well, I'm glad I watched it. I kind of like the mystery of not knowing where the music came from this piece of choreography that was on some random season of So You Think You Can Dance. Maybe that was enough. But I've watched it and been introduced, and for that I'm enlightened. That's my first impressions.
Okay, Jason.
Wade Robson was canceled.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
The other people that he was gonna climb
Yeah,
the
I was
ladder.
gonna try to get y'all to guess. Like Wade Robson, he worked with so and so on blah blah blah.
A bunch of conservative politicians, I bet. I'm just kidding.
So I believe this movie came on my radar around the time it was nominated for an Oscar in 03. I was in college, and I remember watching the Oscars, and they show the little clips or whatever, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting. Or maybe I had even seen like posters of it at like the art theater at that time. So it was on my radar, and when it was nominated, I definitely wanted to see it, but I never got around to it. So it's been on my list for 19 years, 18 years maybe. So it's been a minute. I think I didn't have any expectations going in. I didn't know what to expect from this thing because it's been so long since I've seen any footage on it. I just remember thinking it looked really interesting. It wasn't like animation at that time. Everything had kind of moved over to 3D type stuff at that point, CGI animation. Uh, but I must say that after watching this thing, although very interesting, I do believe the Academy made the right choice in choosing Finding Nemo to be the best animated picture that year. But this thing is unique and it's interesting and it's very French. There is a racist moment in there, and I'll save my opinion about that until we talk, because I don't know if it is a racist moment. I had my own feelings about what that scene may have actually meant. So yeah, let's definitely dive into that at some point. I would say I like this thing. I like it because it was different. I like it because it was foreign. I like it because I've never quite seen a story like it. The animation was different. It was very unique and stylized. And I'm not sure who the filmmakers were. I didn't bother to look it up or see what their other works were. But this was a cool movie, man. This was definitely something that, as a cinema club, I think it's important that we view and talk about because it's not really a totally, what's the word, congruent storyline per se, or it's some of the moments in it are a tad bit surreal and silly, so it might be kind of hard to track what's going on or what the storytellers and filmmakers are trying to say. So this is kind of a perfect cinema club movie. That's my first impression.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, then I'll go ahead and finish with mine since it was my pick this week. I have never heard of this film before, and like the first time it like came on my radar is when we went to the Academy Awards Museum for the first time, and they had like a exhibit about like all the different animated films who that won, and I saw a clip of it, and I was just like, why have I never seen anything about this at all? And I usually have my thumb on the pulse when it comes to these sort of things.
Well, with those ladies, they're like halfway through the door, so there was probably no pulse to like check.
But you ageist person. But no, but like I think this is a very oddly heartwarming film because like that's what I felt at the end. Like I felt the ending was very like aw, despite all the weirdness. Like it's like hard to explain because it's not like a complete feeling, but at the same time, like it has like such a warm ending. I think that the character design was very smart and very, very jokey. I guess that's going to segue into that first part of the movie that everyone's kind of referenced to. And like, let's talk about that. So I'll just go ahead and open that up. It sounds like Jason had a very definite opinion, and we'll go in with Ray. So yeah, let's have at it, guys.
I wouldn't say that my opinion is definite, but I definitely have an opinion. So at first when I saw that, I was like, "Uh-oh, here we go." And then as the scene started to, I'm just going to go ahead and spoil what's going on. There is it's like a 1920s sort of performance a la brain fart of the
vaudeville, ragtime.
Yeah, like a Dorothy Dandridge type of performance that's going on in France that was very popular at the time. She was a star. The character kind of looks like it. It's a black woman who's like very voluptuous, and she's dancing, basically naked with a banana skirt, So, there's all types of racist implications there. That's a real image. If you Google Dorothy Dandridge, I'm sure that'll probably be one of the images that come up. So that was a popular kind of performance at that time, and on stage there.
And in old cartoons as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, well, sure. I guess. So I think, but then what happens is that all these like rich people are coming in to see this performance, and it's these very obese rich white women, and they have these very small, tiny, skinny white men who are their partners that are coming in with them, and they're just sort of being dragged along and whipped along, and they're just along for the ride. It's almost like they don't even have a choice. So you can draw your own conclusion of what they're trying to say with that. But then the men become irate, or not irate, but they become like, very lustful, and they go crazy, and they turn into monkeys right in front of us because the girl's wearing, they start lusting after her, and the girl's wearing a banana skirt, and they're going after her to get those bananas off of her, and whatever. What I thought, or what I felt was going on was, it was kind of like an idea like, here's the world sexualizing black women, and this is like white men sexualizing black women and making them nothing more than just a piece of meat to go after. Which I thought was interesting is that they didn't make the black woman into a monkey or a primate. They made the white men into primates, and they were going after her like she was the banana. She was the thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought maybe they were trying to say something about the world that we live in. They were trying to make a statement about that. So I didn't feel that it was racist. It could have very well been, but they used a trope, a racist trope, to try to express a point that I think is very truthful. So that was my take on it. I'd love to hear
how they portrayed Americans.
We'll get to that too. No, like I agree with you, Jason. I'm glad that, because that's how I interpreted it too. It's like I thought they used very specific iconography from our culture. That's a very big part of cartoon culture too, because like that's another thing I wanted to get to later, is how this is kind of a love letter to animation, like old animation style in general. But like that's exactly how I felt too. Is like if they had like since they turned the white men into the monkeys, like it's like a smart play on words almost like a visual pun with like a lot of interesting implications.
Plus, it doesn't stop. All the powerful like men who are not grunts in this film
Mhm.
are tiny ass motherfuckers.
That's a good point.
It's like
And
Napoleon, that
anything.
the small man complex, if you will,
Yeah.
right?
Right,
I
right.
so totally agree also with Jason and that idea. And then the other reason why I didn't, clearly that whole first scene was all in black and white, like it's old footage, it's like the past, it's this, showing history, and of course not in a great light. And also just all the drawings were just so all over the place, like there wasn't really a beautiful character, or what we see, right? It was big noses, it was obese characters, it was like, frog like fingers, and everyone was just all over the place. And I was like, well, I think it's serving a purpose and not necessarily going towards, just racism, because everyone in this film is being depicted in a certain style, in a certain way. So kind of also agree that the intention was kind of like what Jason was pointing out, of showing especially white man, that they're a bunch of animals and they have a certain type, if you will, that's sexualizing, you know, uh, black women specifically, and in that time period, right? Forbidden fruit, if you will. So yeah, so that was my thought on that. But the drawing itself is a racist trope.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
Wait a minute. Wait. What do you mean the drawing is a racist trope?
The picture of her, that's considered a racist drawing at this point.
How so?
The African kind of jungle woman, aborigine from that period, from that style, the big lips and the.
So I didn't think that. I know what you're saying. I
Yeah.
don't think that the drawing is racist. I think the trope is racist.
Right.
For me, the
I-
drawing to be racist, she would have to have like extremely dark skin and big white eyes and big red
And
lips.
and
And to
fucking
me,
the
she
white
is
the white
just like
gloves would
a
be very,
shapely,
Yeah.
voluptuous black woman. Honestly, like, and all the characters in this thing are sort of oblong and weird.
Right.
And,
That was
She's
the
the
other
prettiest
thing
thing in there, yeah.
yeah.
I had brought up.
Interesting.
I mean,
Right.
honestly, I know black women that are shaped exactly like that cartoon. So I don't,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? I don't know if that's a trope. I mean, I don't know if the
True.
drawing is racist.
Well, I think because of the bananas, we can just, as
Yes.
that's what I meant. The overall point, like being
Her-
kind of a
she's portraying,
showgirl,
yeah.
being put in that stage,
Yeah.
all that I think is in itself kind of the racist trope of that time period.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you were to just see that picture without the movie, without the reference and all that, you'd be like, "Oh, this is getting racy." That's all I meant. Like the individual artwork is definitely on that line of like this, without anything else.
Gotcha.
This is a racist depiction. But Raymond is the one that's gonna settle it.
Yeah, obviously. No, I just felt much to what you're saying of like, if you got a snapshot of this out of context, what will you think? And I think for me, because I definitely see where y'all are coming from, and I can kind of understand how y'all read it. I think I still felt like there was a lack of context, even having watched the film, what their clear intention was. So my like spidey sense went off, and I was just like, I don't know. But I do think, like, because I did go back to that moment. I ended up watching it twice. It's a short film, and ish. So and I was like, do I really not like this film? I don't know. So I was just trying to kind of like really think about it more. But I did notice that like every character human in the film is exaggerated in some regard. The kid who grows up to be a bicyclist just looks super creepy and weird. And everyone, like we mentioned, the older men in the film tend to be shorter, and this, that, and the other. And yeah, and even in that scene specifically, the white men turn into monkeys, and I did think like, well, if they're being historically accurate, then they're like pointing to a time and place in regards to the black woman on stage. Um, but I kind of just like grasped at straws, and then I just felt like, oh, I don't think I have enough strong of a direction to dictate one way or not whether there's more to be said other than like humanity is a mess or something. I don't know, but yeah. So that's where I stand. But I get where everyone's saying.
No, like, and I think I'll just use that to segue into like character design, because I think that's like a big part of what the story of this film is supposed to be. There's like a lot of characters that are drawn on purpose to be like specific animals that are not that's like not subtle in any way. Um, and there are certain aspects, like scale is a big part of this. Like I found it very interesting that all the male characters were shorter than the females in this. Like even the sisters, they were all taller than anybody else in the film.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a very interesting choice to make. So yeah, like, did you have a very favorite character design or a character design that you felt very unnerving or like anything specific like that?
Oh, dude, I just love that this movie, like, basically, like, physics looked at this film and was like, this is illegal, and it didn't care. It did not care. Like, this is what, like, a Tim Burton movie would look if Tim Burton, like, added beef to his characters. So, because those things are, like, basically just twigs. You feel sorry for those animators who have to, like, move those little like notches like once a frame. How many frames is that? A lot. But anyways, like I actually really liked I know that the grandma's name they bring it up in the movie. It's Souza, and the boy's name, from my understanding in the film, is Champion.
Yeah.
So they're the only ones that have like legit names, I believe. And I like Champion's design progression. Like I really like that he was like they show him as this chubby, shy, like very afraid boy, and then for them to like once the movie progresses, a very like strong, a bit stoic. He's no longer intimidated by the world. But I also thought it was nutso because yeah, he does look like a horse, but he doesn't act like a horse. He's the only bicyclist in the film that doesn't do the weird horse neighing or the horse wheezing
because
or
he's a
showing the teeth.
thoroughbred.
Well, the way that I saw it was that his grandma was the one that made him into a horse, not him.
Right.
So like because even she kind of like treats him like a horse would be treated. But at the end of the day, he is still a man. And then like I feel that's kind of the story is where like I don't know, but I really did like that how they made him look like one, but he was the only one that never was animalistic or like or crossed that line because all of the bicyclists in
I
the
don't
movie
know.
like.
His eyes were
Oh
pretty
yeah, his
horse-like.
eyes, but like the little boy always had big eyes too. But I really like Champion's design from beginning to end as the progression.
Right.
I will go. Kind of agree with that. I will go with the dog, and I don't know.
Bruno.
I'm still reeling from having to put down my dog this past summer. So Frida, to me, because our apartment is on the second floor, and so Frida would always have her head at the window and like would be watching me and waiting for me, and like if I parked the car, she put her head there, or even Jason. She knew Jason's alarm from his car. So to me, the dog, I was just like, I was so afraid for the dog, and I was worried for the dog, and I'm glad to say, spoiler, the dog does not die. At least, I mean, maybe at the end it looks like it's more in the future. So I think due to age related issues, the dog died. Maybe we don't know, but just how they, yeah, character design and stuff like that was just great. But like thinking about using the dog as a wheel as well, just like so for like the fat chubby dog with the little legs, like I was like legs are gonna break. Like that dog, I couldn't. Every time the dog was on screen, I was looking at the dog. I was worried for the dog. Like the dog showed more emotion than, and actually maybe the frogs as well. Like they were having the few animals they actually had seemed to be showing more human like emotions than the humans, because then there's that weird switch where the dog is in his dreams, the dog dreams, and he's riding that train, and then all the people are in the apartment, and it's just I don't know, man. I asked Jason what drugs were they doing to come up with this cartoon. So anyway,
I
dog
think
design.
mine and cigarettes because they're French.
Ew.
Jason?
Well, I'll quickly just say that a lot of me agrees with Dino. I feel like the dog was one of the more interesting characters for me. He made me laugh the most. I thought he was the funniest. Probably one of the most interesting dog portrayals or characters I've ever seen in cinema, ever. Honestly, like top 5 without a doubt. Just there's a lot to be said about that dog, but I think my favorite character, um, barring character design, which I think a lot of it was brilliant. I agree with you guys. A lot of these characters are animals. The gangsters, I don't really understand why the gangsters were all like triplets. That didn't
Merging in.
yeah that didn't really make. I don't know why they chose that, but the gangster had their 2 right hand men or their 2 enforcers with them, and like that was interesting. And but it was the mom. The mom is the character.
Grandma.
It was a grandma.
Yeah.
I think it was a grandma.
At the very end, she says grandma. He says grandma.
Well, the grandma to me was probably the most. What's the word I'm looking for? The most just like integral part of this story for me, I suppose, because she sacrificed so much for her grandson's dream of being in the Tour de France. And I mean, yeah, he was going through the aches and the pains, but with limited resources, she got him there. You know what I mean? She got him to and he didn't place and he was in the bottom 3 or whatever. But I mean, look how well he did considering that they're doing it on a nothing budget and with barely any food and with whatever tools and resources they had, and she sacrificed all of herself. And it wasn't just him that was going through the pains. When they get home every night, she's like ironing out his back and like making sure his body is good to go for the next day. And she was his coach and she was his nutritionist and trainer, and she and his grandma, and she, and like her hopes and dreams was riding on him being successful, which I thought was pretty great, man. I thought that was really awesome storytelling. And it's families come in different shapes and sizes, and I think this movie kind of iterates that, and it kind of iterates a lot of different things we could talk about, but I'll leave it there.
Okay. Raymond?
Yeah, I'm glad y'all are talking about this film in such a different light than how I viewed it, because I don't know. For me, there were moments like you guys mentioned, like the dog dreaming moments were some of the most fascinating moments for me of the film, and then also all the musical moments where they perform, specifically with Grandma, I was like very into. And then as far as character design, I don't know, I was just creeped out. Like all the I just kept going like, this is artistically really capturing me, but I don't know if I want to watch a whole film like this. And same thing with those moments. Wow, these moments are so indelible and thought-provoking, but I don't know, all together in this film, I don't know.
But you watched it twice back to back.
Because I thought I missed something. I was like, maybe there's it's not. Maybe I'm just trying to make more sense of it than I'm supposed to, or maybe that's part of
You
the
saw the
director's
pain of
intention.
like 13 animators' wrists on screen like for 4 hours, so you didn't miss a damn thing.
I think I wanted to love the film and the story, which I think, you know, it is kind of, maybe it is multiple short films in one overall film, but like the story of grandma rescuing her grandson, I would watch that, you know. But I feel like it's like different little almost vignettes of like the dog dreaming is like a vignette, and making my grandson an Olympic ready, or you know, a super athlete bicyclist is another, and then like saving my grandson from the mafia is like another. So yeah, there's something like there, I guess. But
That's
yeah,
because that does sound like, wait, what? That's all in one movie?
Yeah.
The mafia, what?
That car chase though.
4 old ladies or what?
No, like I think my favorite characters to like see on stage were the sisters, just because like I feel like this is the most intimate I've ever seen like elderly women portrayed, like in a way that they within their own personhood. You know, like the sisters aren't grandmas. They are who they are, and this is how they live. And you see them like brushing their teeth and combing their hair, and like even though they don't have much.
And you also believe that they're old.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of movies where like they'll make the old person look fucking badass, and it's like, I don't think an old person can do that. It's like you watch this and it's like, no, they're old.
Yeah, no, and like there's kind of like I'm a sense of dignity that I don't think is often portrayed for women, like elderly women in like cinema in general. So I just thought it was such a refreshing depiction of that, especially in like an industry where like, especially in a medium that is kind of notorious for taking like feminine characters and over exaggerating those feminine qualities to such an extent that it's just like it's such an, you know, like most cartoon women are just like such an idealized, prettified version of ourselves. So to see someone draw something like that, I think is very powerful and poignant. Which is gonna segue to talking about the music in this film, because I think it's such a big part of the story and what they're trying to present. I really enjoyed how like they really perfected their art in a way that like not a lot of people would consider a perfection of art. They go from like being very polished singers to like almost these avant-garde explorations of sound that still make like a very interesting piece.
Yeah, this movie went Blue Man Group on us for a good second. I really like the music of this film, and I actually the album's on Spotify. I've been listening to that all day, to be honest. They got like so many versions of the Bellevue song. It's so great. I really like the ending credit song. I'll admit, I'm a fan of like when an ending credit song is really fucking great, like old Disney '90s like power ballads in animated movies. But this one, like, it bopped. Like this one bopped, man. I really liked the theme song to this film. But also, the use of like the percussionary instruments and like just finding absolute junk and making beauty out of it, which is, let's be real, that's the fucking movie. Because it's ugly.
Yeah, no, like that's such a beautiful moment, because like you get so confused when like they're like, no, don't touch the refrigerator.
Yeah.
No, don't touch this newspaper, because you're just like, are y'all like just staying in someone's apartment? That's what I thought it was.
I hadn't thought about that.
I was worried they were looking at they were eyeing the dog also, and I thought maybe they were like, we've been eating frogs, but tonight we're gonna have a dog. Like, I was worried for the dog almost the whole movie.
What instrument do you think the dog would be?
Well,
The dog's
his
the
bones,
singer.
right?
But any thoughts on your guys' end about the music?
Yeah, I love the music. I thought it was fantastic, man. The music is a character in this thing. It's the movie is clearly centered around the music. The triplets, all their numbers were fantastic. The opening stuff was fantastic. All of it, like all the music in it, the whole score is a complete little soundtrack. That you can have in your collection. Like if I owned a record player, I would probably own this soundtrack. Honestly, it's great.
Yeah, it was really entertaining. Entertaining. This is one of those movies that could be playing like in a bar, just in the background, and actually just have the
Yes,
music playing.
yes.
The hipster bars. They have like different videos, old movies, and all that, and but have like wacky music behind it. But this is one where it's like just play the cartoon and the music from the cartoon, and that's gonna fit.
And apparently also on Dancing with the Stars, or So You Think,
So You
whatever
Think You
the
Can
show that
Dance
Raymond saw that one.
on Fox.
Did you say Dancer in the Star?
Dancing when you're sorry.
I love the music. It's weird to know the context of it after so many years of just jamming out to the percussive. I was about to do all the percussive noises with one mouth. I was gonna be terrible, but but it's so weird to know the context of it and be like, oh. But yeah, I'm totally getting the record. I have a record player, so I'm like, genius.
Prove
I'm gonna get
it.
the record player.
Well, how cool was him playing the record at the beginning, right? Like, I
Yeah.
did enjoy that, and I guess that goes to music and it goes to the character design or just the overall thing, where they had a bicycle connected to the record player, and so while he was riding the bike, it was playing the record, and he had to keep the certain speed to play it at the correct time.
Yeah, which is why he was
I thought that
playing.
was pretty cool, also of interacting between, and then they have the film screen as well. So it was pretty overall. I thought it was cool how they did some of that with the music as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we've touched on all the stuff that I really wanted to talk about this film. Was there anything else you guys wanted to bring up that I don't think I have necessarily?
I think that the stereotypical look that they gave to the Americans was awfully offensive, and I think this movie was just to get a kick out of the U.S. when we were down, just because we renamed our French fries, to freedom fries. Come on, France. Come on. This movie took like 5 years to make. They had no idea.
Well, I mean, my only question is like, what's the meaning of the movie, right? Like, what's the purpose? Maybe that's kind of what Raymond was kind of wondering.
You know what?
Like,
Well, I thought it was sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's just I thought this was like kind of like a dive into the extents of what makes someone happy, and how that like kind of shapes the entire shape of our lives, because like that's why the grandma got into cycling in the first place, because like you see her with like the dog and the stuff, doing everything she can to make this little boy happy, and then when she finds the one thing that like seems to make him happy, like that's what they focus on. That's like creating this almost creature that like is just so focused on this goal. And like how hard she fights to follow that sense of happiness, because like her grandson's all she has in this world. And like the sisters, the way that they pursue their art, because like even though they're like playing on, like, think of the mastery it takes to be able to make a song sound good on a refrigerator, and like that's like something that these mafiosos are like vainly trying to get through like having their own privatized like race that's you can bet on and stuff like that. And it's just like, I think it's just a contemplation of like how this capitalistic society makes us think that happiness is a certain thing when it's something else.
I thought it was because Chomet really hates Mickey Mouse. I really loved the few times that they took a dig at Disney. It was great. Of course, the movie was much more than that. It's much more than that.
Wait? Where were I think I missed those moments. When did they take digs at Disney?
Oh man, there was one of the more obvious ones was when they're trying to find Champion. She has the passport of the guy who made that machine contraption,
Mhm.
and in the passport there's a few pictures of him at Disneyland, and he's huge. He has a huge lollipop that says "sucker,"
Oh yeah.
and then it's a blink and you miss it moment. Because I was shocked when I saw it this time because I definitely didn't see it the last time that I saw it.
Yeah, he had a
there's
button
scene
that
where
said "sucker" on it.
there's a toilet, right? And there's a piece of shit floating in the toilet where it's Mickey Mouse.
Oh,
wow.
I didn't know. I noticed the piece of shit, but I guess I didn't look hard enough that it was actually Mickey Mouse shit.
Yeah, it was Mickey Mouse, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's Mickey Mouse!" And my roommate's like, "No," and then we rewinded, and I was like, "Oh!"
I didn't notice that. That's crazy.
Nice.
But
I guess
no,
they weren't a fan of
I like your take on it.
Disney
Like, yeah.
Paris. Is that where that one foreign Disney is at, in Paris?
Disney France.
Yep.
Yeah.
Side note: why do they get better rides than the OGs? Doesn't that
Well-
make you mad as an American? Where Disney's from, that Tokyo Disney is far superior than anything that we got.
It's because if you take away one of the rides, all of the like home fans are like, "But it's a classic." They don't like change. Scary.
Bring back Hollywood Tower of Terror.
We're all scared.
We're all scared.
I will say, well, anyway, I don't want to get into Disney. They got to pay us to talk about them, right, guys? Right.
Exactly.
My one thing with the picking, why did they get the last like cyclist? Like, wouldn't you want to get like the best cyclist for your underground cycling betting?
It's all about who's like you're gonna miss, and if you're gonna kill them all anyways, like, can't be a big name.
I think it's just it's an easier way to get away with it. You know, like they probably figure like who gives a fuck about these chums,
That's
and like they're
literally
the
what I just
easiest
said.
ones to like just pick. Because at the end of the day, it's not because they respect cycling. They're just treating them like fucking animals. They fucking shoot a
Wait.
man.
You know, we were talking about like capitalism and how every humans were kind of just talking about like humans or animals, whatever. There has been, I don't know, maybe this was like a year back or so. This is maybe even before Rona, or it was like because UFC has just like garnered so much attention and has grown so much. Like it's become it's gone from being something at the outskirts and now is like an integral part of sports experience. But it's at a time where concussions have been discussed more than ever before in football. And so we're moving from football to, and then I'm not saying people are actually leaving football to watch UFC, but instead saying that like, as we're having this conversation about concussions in football, this martial arts ring universe is growing in super popularity. So it's interesting because a lot of the conversations that people have from the scientific community about like the harm that it has on these athletes, especially when it comes to their brains, and how, this film, it does show these cyclists like horses and like animals, and people are just betting on them, and these mafiosos are treating them as if they were any other kind of like horses betting whatever. But I don't know. It's like, oh, that I'm sure you guys are like, yeah, that's duh, right? That's like the first reading of the film. But I'm like, oh yeah. Like, I don't know. It just had another click in the.
Yeah, no, that's like really great insight because that's exactly what's going, or like that was very well articulated. And it's always just interesting to find correlations in what we consume into like what's going on in like present times. Like I didn't even think about that. How it's just like that's almost in our nature to find like the most deadly sport and like see who's the best quote unquote warrior and how that's very base and animalistic.
I
And
would
we-
like to see chess, but with like guns to their heads.
I feel
We-
like that's a lot of something.
As a federal government, I believe I could be wrong, but I think within the last year, I'm getting the facts wrong, but generally speaking, we've legalized sport betting on the internet. So now more than ever, U.S. U.S. based folks can bet on pretty much any sport. It used to be relegated to certain states and through certain ways, like you could go to Vegas or whatever. But then when things got into the internet, the jurisdiction became a little bit trickier, and now I think it's an a-okay thing. Fact check me. My favorite podcast duo goes, if you have a correction, put it in the comments.
There you go.
So if you have a correction, put it in the comments.
Or just get a one of them newfangled VPNs. One of those VPNs sponsor us, and we'll tell people that to buy your VPN.
All right. Well, I'm gonna stop where we're at just because it's almost 6:30, and unfortunately, like we have to keep things short today. So, why don't we start with final thoughts? And Ray, if you'd like to go first, real quick.
Final thoughts. You guys have pushed back on my uneasiness with the film. I think there is something there. Maybe I just haven't fully wrapped my head around it in a way that makes me feel at ease, comfortable.
Watch it again, Raymond. Now that
Yes.
we've talked, watch
The
it
third
again.
and fourth time might be the one.
Yeah.
Oh, God, now I fucking hate the movie.
I think there is something to be said about going against the grain in the the character creations and these sidebars with the dreamscapes of the dog that I think are really fascinating. I hesitate to recommend. That's where I'm at.
All right. Nice. I guess I'll go. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very weird. What's weird is out of all the weird cartoons that we've seen, which we have seen a lot of weird cartoons, this one kind of seems like the one that has the least amount of focus in it. At least for me. I kind of struggle with, like, even for me, like, I struggle what it means, right? All the other ones, like the planet one that we watched, like the crazy other ones that we've seen, it's definitely has had more of an impact, or it's more clear in my mind of like, oh, that's what that is, or what that movie means. Whereas this one, I'm still kind of like, maybe it's as simple as a fuck you, Disney, but it's over my head, I guess. I do enjoy it. I would recommend it to people that are into foreign films, trippy films, that kind of stuff. That's my final thoughts.
All right.
Okay, well then I'll jump into a final thought. I actually would like to use a moment of my final thought to ask you guys a question of something that I didn't quite understand in the film. When they're done eating their frog feast, the woman goes into the kitchen Grandma goes into the kitchen to try to like help clean up and be a good guest, and she tries to put a couple of the leftover frogs into the refrigerator, and she's told not to. Like, no, don't do that. Why did she do that? Why didn't she want her to put the frogs?
That's her instrument. They use those as an instrument, remember? Same thing with a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, I saw those. What part of the frogs did they use as an instrument?
No,
the
fridge.
refrigerator itself.
Fridge as
so she didn't
instrument.
want her to put the frogs back in there because they needed to use the thing in the
Yeah,
fridge.
because then she used almost like a guitar or a banjo.
I got you.
And then she was, I'm gonna vacuum, and they like stopped her.
Yeah, no, I remember those.
She did the yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought it was the frogs that were the centerpiece of that.
No,
All right.
no.
All right,
I
cool. So
thought
my
it was
final
because
thought is-
the Belvillians don't have leftovers because you see how grotesquely obese they are. So why would they ever have leftovers in that world?
Anyways, Jason.
Yeah. No, I feel you. So I think, could I recommend this thing to people? Yeah. a very select group of nerdy people and film snobs and the people who enjoy all the animations. I would probably get cussed out for giving this film recommendation to a civilian.
To a muggle.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it, and there's a lot to be said about it, and it's very thoughtful. There's a lot of things going on here where the filmmakers and storytellers are very, very thoughtful, like the dreams and stuff, and what do dreams mean, and what do they mean to a dog, and the anxiety of the dog and his relationship to trains, and you know, to everybody's relationship to the world around them. Something can be said about this film, so it's interesting to say the least. And it deserves more than one watch. I believe if you watch it once, Raymond did the right thing by giving this thing a second look. And often, I will say, Raymond, that there's films that we've reviewed that I'm like, you know what, I did not like this thing. I'm just going to shut up and hear what everybody else has to say. And my mind has been changed because they saw things that I was incapable of seeing in the moment. So
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
one of the really best things about us here at Cinema Club.
Yeah.
Is really one of the values of what we're doing here, I think. And hopefully we can change other people's minds, or at least give other people different insights about films that they didn't understand and didn't have a group to talk to.
Yeah, different perspective.
So yeah, that's like I said, this is one of the very this is just a very valuable film for us to review here at Oi Dimelo.
Nice.
All right, JP.
2 thumbs up. Really like this movie. Very good movie. I recommend to people who like cartoon. We love cartoon. Rubber hose animation, French animation. If you French, you're gonna love this movie. Show this to your grandma. Show this to your pupped up dog. You love pup dog. 2 thumbs up. A+. I love this movie.
Okay, cool. Dino, did you go yet?
Yeah, I already went.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. I really enjoyed this film. I don't think I would suggest it to everyone. I think if I know for a fact that you really are into cinema or really, really into animation, I would absolutely. It's definitely something I want to revisit. I think it's a very unique and very unique film. And I can't wait to explore it in different ways. So yeah. And with that, Jason, do you have a question for Dino?
I do. Steve, what do you got for us next week?
Well, Steve isn't here, but I don't know why you're asking Steve, because it's time to ask Raymond. Raymond, what are we going to watch next week?
So I got 2 options for you. First option, both films are films that have been on my to-do list for a while. First option is Mahogany. Came out in 1975, and I don't know much about either film, but this one features Diana Ross and has something to do with her wanting to become a fashion designer. And then the second film is Waiting to Exhale. Came out in 1995. Has Whitney Houston and a bunch of other amazing actors. And it's based on a novel that follows 4 very different African-American women and their relationships with men. So, option 1, Mahogany. Option 2, Waiting for Exhale.
All right. Okay. So, give us a countdown.
3, 2, 1, go. Oh, that was unanimous.
Oh my gosh, you both picked 2? You both
Love
picked 2. No, look, this is a 2.
No, I went for the 70s vibe, and I don't know if I've seen her in a movie before. Maybe I have, but
Although I must say, Waiting to Exhale is a classic. There's not a boring scene in that thing. I've never seen Mahogany, and you guys know my rule. If I haven't seen it, that's the one I'm voting for.
all right.
You gotta breathe in first before exhaling.
That's it for Oye Dimelo Cinema Club. Pew, 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 pew. Join us next week for Mahogany. Ciao. Ciao, 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 ciao.